Welcome to the Inspiring Victory Show, where we help you double your business, double your impact, and change the world. I could not be more excited because this week, backed by literally popular demand, we have Sherry Winn, Coach Sherry. And if you have not had a chance to see her original podcast episode, it was one of our absolute most popular, and it has some amazing things on there. And she tells a great story that you won't see anywhere else. Absolutely magical. And so we got all sorts of requests. Bring Sherry back. So just for you, we have the incredible Sherry Winn. Now, Sherry is a two-time Olympian. Sherry is also someone who was a national championship winning basketball coach. And she is a top international speaker who has spoken to up to 14,000 people at a time. And she's a fantastic business coach. She works with leaders and she also works with salespeople that have, need to be able to stay in the game and really, really can help people get to that Olympic level of performance no matter what they do. She is one of the people I admire most in the world, and I am very, very lucky to have you on the show. Sherry Winn, welcome.
Woo-hoo.
Thanks for
Well, I'm lucky because you're the coach that helped me get to where I am. So there we go.
You're just making my day. Thank you so much for saying that. You are incredible, and people are always lucky to have you. I'm glad to support your marketing and sales efforts. You deserve it. Well, okay. So I wanted to ask you some things that we didn't have time to talk about the last time. And one is how you have gotten performance out of, as an Olympian yourself, twice, you out of all the people that you had to coach in basketball. And then, of course, now in the corporate world where you coach thousands of people as a speaker and you coach individuals so successfully and teams. What is the number one thing that we need to do to get performance out of ourselves or performance out of others? What's the number one thing we need to know? I know you will know the answer. Tell me.
Well, you're going to talk to somebody who really believes in the mind, right? So we are incredibly mean to ourselves and what we tell ourselves all the time. We have this, there are no neutral thoughts, none. Whatever you're looking at, there's either you're going one direction or the other. So when we look at something, like if I were to look at the thing behind you, the plant, I go, oh man, that's a really pretty plant. That's a pretty plant. I've already used something, right, to describe that. So there are no neutral thoughts. What we don't understand is that most of the thoughts we put in our head about ourselves are negative. And we don't understand how much that impacts what we're going to do in the future. So I was just talking to a coaching client, and he's a salesperson, one of the top in the company. But he's like, I have imposter syndrome. I have all this negative self-talk. If you tell yourself something 1,000 times, you're going to be right about it. Always. So it's how do you train your mind to think different thoughts so you can have a different outcome?
So he's thinking, I have imposter syndrome. I'm not as good as everybody thinks I am. He's thinking those kinds of thoughts. What did you do with him to get higher levels of performance? I know that in like 2 minutes you had him all straightened out, and he's getting like 10 times the performance because we send you a lot of referrals and everybody comes back with the same thing. We're getting 10 times the performance out of everybody because Sherry's awesome. But what did you do? Well, how did you help him get through that? And what is he able to do now that he couldn't do before?
Well, the imposter syndrome, first of all, everybody has it. So it's like, oh, it's just a certain thing assigned to these couple of people. No. We all have these doubts. That is part of being a human. So first of all, just recognizing this is normal. You don't have a disease that we have to eradicate.
Incurable disease.
You'll never get rid of it. It's horrible. I mean, anybody who has any kind of self-awareness recognizes that there are times and moments that we go, well, I'm really not good enough for this, or why are they hiring me? I shouldn't be in this position. Whatever we do to ourselves. So first of all, it's just really calming that whole anxiety around having the syndrome. Let's calm that down because everybody has it. So if everybody has it, what can you do differently? Well, the first thing is to really catch your thought. So, and this is hard because we have so many thoughts, right? We have thousands and thousands of thoughts, but the number of times you can catch yourself telling yourself something, disrupt it. You don't have to necessarily change it into the exact thing that you want because sometimes we're not ready to believe that thing, but you have to catch it and you can't let yourself tell the story about it forever. And that's what people do. They have the story, they replay the story, they don't even know they're in the story, and they get along in the story, they've been in the story for minutes, and then they're entirely convinced of that thing. So the first thing is awareness, like the thought comes up, you go, oh, that's interesting. Let's don't judge it. Let's just put it in curiosity. That's interesting. I have that thought again for the 3,000th time today. Let's don't judge it. Let's don't judge it. Let's just
a little judgy, but let's try not to judge.
Let's just do something with it that maybe can shift it. So maybe the thought is, instead of the thought like I'm not good enough, to say, I've really made incredible efforts this year. All right, so that's different, right? All you have to do is just move a little bit. You don't have to move all the way over. And if you would just take the moment to recognize it and disrupt the thought, replace it with something you believe, this is the key, not something that you want but you don't yet have, but something you believe is true about you, and then just let it go. And it comes back up, you just do the same thing and same thing and the same thing and same thing. And pretty soon that thought no longer is firing so hard in your neural networks. Now you're shifting the thought. And if you do that, if you're consistent with that, you can have changes in less than 24 hours.
What comes after that? You continue that process, and then what kind of benefits can you see?
Well, first of all, I mean, that's just kind of like an initial process. So we're just trying to get the shift. That's not going to be the total shift. We have to change your belief system.
Whoa,
you have to change your belief system. So we're going to have to unravel the beliefs you have about yourself, and we have to change. We have to replace them with new beliefs. We have to unravel all those, and usually they're not hard. What's hard is that we're addicted to our emotions. That's the hard part. So we're addicted to feeling bad about ourselves. We're addicted to self-sabotage.
Really?
Oh yeah. Yeah.
Okay, so back the train up here. What you're saying is that, okay, so you can start catching these things a little bit, and that's a good baby step. And that you got to start somewhere. That's where you start. But there's a lot more to do, which is you have to completely sort of rewrite the stories that you've been telling yourself, and you have to start replacing all of this with things that are true and accurate. But the challenge becomes that it's not just the stories we're telling each other or telling ourselves and each other all day long. It's the emotions that we have tied to them that we have gotten addicted to. Why are we addicted to these stories? They aren't helping us. Why are we doing that? Help a girl out.
Yeah, isn't that crazy?
Not that I would ever do anything like that ever.
Well,
but
I mean, you see people
I think we all do. It's human.
Don't you think they're addicted to anger? Don't you think that when you do
meet people that are totally addicted, and we've all been there too. I think if you let go of that you're condoning whatever bad behavior is there. Yeah,
we done so often, pattern. And we do, like, the only reason we think anything is because we have an emotional benefit. So if we have an emotional benefit to a thought that creates an emotion, we're addicted to that, right? Because we think it benefits us. So for example, let's say anger, right? So why would somebody have an emotional benefit to anger? Well, it makes them feel safe. It makes them feel right. So that is a part of safety. If you're addicted to anger, usually you get your way. Another reason that it's a benefit to have that, right?
If you're angry, you could get your way. Okay.
Oh yeah, because you're manipulating people from your anger. That's what anger is, right?
Everybody's walking on eggshells. Okay.
Everybody's walking on eggshells. They're trying to make it right. How can we fix it so you get what you want? Like that's short term, but long term, who's going to work for you if you're an anger monster all the time? Yeah, short term, yes. Long term, no. Right, but we all have an emotion. We all have a benefit to the thoughts that create our emotions until we understand what the benefit is, even though it doesn't seem like a benefit. Because once you say it out loud, like, oh, I get to manipulate other people so I get my way.
Your brain goes, wait, that doesn't sound good. Wait, that's not good. Yeah. You don't even realize you're doing it. Is that really cool? I'm not sure that's considered impolite in best circumstances. Okay, so we're addicted to these emotions. We don't really even realize we're addicted to them because they give us a sense of control, or we're getting what we want when we use some of these. But the drawback is what?
Well, when you're just like that, how does it benefit me? In what ways am I using it to benefit me? And that's where we're trying to get to that subconscious reasoning. And then we'll say, okay, so how does it not benefit you? Well, all right,
Right.
here's,
Okay.
we understand like,
Right.
well, it hurts my relationship with my spouse. Like I've
Half my
isolated
half
myself
my
from
team half my
friends, you
half my
know,
team quit last year because
right.
they were sick and tired of it. I do see that with a lot of leaders that are leaning on anger. And so I think also it's because they have limited choices of emotions that they begin to, yeah, I can't be happy all the time. This is one that they can go with. All right. So what is the drawback, or this is the positive you're getting out of this that you're not even really necessarily aware. So we're starting to get curious about, why am I thinking this all day long? What am I getting out of this? And then where is this maybe hurting me?
Right. Well, how does that not benefit you, right? In what ways does it not benefit you? Does it cause you to have more stress? Does it cause you to have more anxiety? What's the legacy you're leaving your children when you're doing that? Because certainly your children are picking up on the very thing that you're doing. Do you want your children to go
Oh,
forward with that? If you believe that you're not good enough, does that really mean, are you going to reach your full potential? Are there things that you haven't uncovered yet that still exist that you're holding yourself back through? I mean, so then the next question would be, what happens if you don't change? What happens if you don't change, right? Well,
so Fred's never going to get the big deals or the
yeah,
maximum number of them because he's too busy saying, I'm not good enough.
yeah,
Okay.
yeah. You're always, I mean,
I get it.
so you're helping somebody just realize, because even though this seems like super simple steps, how many people do it, right? So we
Nobody.
know, you and I know that only 15% of the population is self-aware. 15, 1 5, not 50, but 1 5% of the population is self-aware. So
Yeah.
when you start talking about stuff like this, you're thinking 85% of the population has no idea. And that's why they're getting the results they're getting. And so let's say we change Fred's results, because now Fred is like, wow, I recognize what I'm doing to myself. I don't like what I'm doing to myself. I want to change what I'm doing to myself. I have a lot of reasons to change because I know what happens if I don't change. And I know what happens if I do change. Now I have a lot of inspiration and motivation to really work on this. And then what happens is, like, for example, like the imposter syndrome goes away. Then all of a sudden, like, there's a different relationship with his spouse, a different relationship with his kids. There's a different relationship with his boss. He's making, more sales. He's becoming not only the top, but the top of the top of the top salesperson. So, gives him more opportunity. So, the company has to pay him more, because if you don't pay me more, then you're going to give him somewhere else because everybody else wants him. And there's just so many things that occur with this. But the bottom line is, you're happier. Who doesn't want to be
I
happy?
think everything goes better when you're happier anyway. I mean, then you are getting more sales, or getting the promotion, or getting lured away by a wonderful company, or whatever that is, because that kind of happiness and that kind of confidence is always attractive to other people. So he's now gone from clueless, as we all are in the beginning, about these things that we're not aware of, and that's why a great consultant or a great coach is the most powerful thing on earth, because I always say, I don't care how smart you are, brain surgeons are not allowed to do their own brain surgery. They can see things you cannot see,
Right.
which is why all of us coaches have coaches, or all us consultants have their own consultants.
Yeah, one of my
So
favorite lines from you, by the way.
what
Brain
about your favorite
surgeons
line?
don't do their own brain surgery.
Yeah, I don't care how smart a brain surgeon is. Yeah, they're not allowed to do their own brain surgery. It's true, because a lot of us feel like, I'm so self-actualized and I help other people with this stuff, and that means that I can see everything. And then you realize very rapidly that you are too close to your own situation to see that maybe you are sabotaging something, or maybe that you are thinking certain sayings, leaving clues that you are not confident in a certain
Right.
area or something like that, but you're not even aware of it. So having that outside perspective is really powerful, which is why you should call Sherry right away. Get her to be your coach. She's amazing. She's
Well,
really, really good.
but it's because of what I went through, right? I mean, it was because of that. I
Mm,
had chronic pain at the age of 35, and I couldn't sit, stand, or walk. Went to 17 different medical professionals, had every test known to mankind. Everybody's like, we don't know. The doctors are like, we don't know. So we're going to title it chronic pain because you've been in pain for 2 years. Thank you. Like, I was like,
so
I could,
helpful.
yeah,
So
very
helpful.
helpful, very helpful. And
I'm
I'm
glad
not
we got a professional to give
bashing
you that
doctors,
professional diagnosis. Very helpful.
but when they
Yeah.
sent me on, like, they didn't send me on, they sent me out of the room. Like, we don't know what to do with you. So I went to, I then searched out some alternative medicine, and the most amazing
Mhm.
thing happened. This is where I started understanding the power of the brain, the power of our thoughts, the power of the pre-programming that we have in our head. Is when I
Mhm.
went to these therapists, And they're like, well, the body, mind, and spirit are all connected. And I'm like, well, that's the stupidest thing I've ever heard. Like, that's so stupid. This is physical pain. It's in my body. I don't know why we're talking about anything. Emotions. Why would we talk about emotions? It has nothing to do with emotions. Well, apparently it does. so
Truth be discovered. Yeah, it does. So even when it comes to our physical health, the way that we're talking to each other, the emotions that we are living with that are created by those thoughts can even impact our physical body, which doesn't seem crazy, but it is not. And I've seen it as well in my own life.
Well, think about this. I mean, when you go to the doctor and they're like, okay, they'll say something about your heart. Well, you got to reduce your stress. What's stress? Is that not an emotion? Cancer is related to stress. Is stress not an emotion? So I want to bring this up because we're talking about how we all need coaches. We all need that aha, right? So here I am. I go to these therapists, and so I was getting work done, and the therapist said to me, sit here for a minute, and I want you to think about how angry you are. Now look, I paid a lot of money to go to these therapists, a lot. And they're going to walk away from me, and I need my hour, and I'm paying them by the hour. And so the woman walks away. She goes, I just want you to think about your anger. And I scream, I'm not angry. Like, that was my response. And Sarah,
not angry at all.
I go, oh my gosh.
So angry.
Wow. That was the moment that I knew I was really angry. I did not know. I would have not titled myself as an angry person before that moment. So it's the self-awareness that coaches give to you, right? It's that moment that you get tapped into, that you have the epiphany that changes your world. That's what a great coach can do.
Absolutely. Yeah. And it's those moments that you think, those sort of aha moments times 1,000, those moments where you feel like, something divine is flown through you. And that's, I think, sadly, some people never, ever, ever get to experience. And how lucky are we that we've chosen to grow and get those moments. And now, obviously, your health has improved enormously, and you are literally one of the top speakers in the world now. And so, how amazing that you can pass on all these things that you've learned to other people. How does this impact when you're working with teams of people that need to function together and play well in the sandbox? And how do you get performance out of these people?
Well, I just got through with it.
How is that connected?
Well, I just got through with an executive retreat with a company for a day and a half. And what I love, like, you get to be live. And so you get to do a lot of different things. You get to feel and see, their emotions. So you get to tap into who they are a little bit more. Mm-hmm. And, we broke up the day between assessments, like personal assessments, team assessments, with actual exercises, which I think are great, because if you do an exercise, you debrief from the exercise. You get to see people, how they respond. I don't want to say react, how they react in those things, because a lot of people react and they don't respond. And you get to have the conversation around that, right? It's just amazing. Like, we did an exercise, and after the exercise, they're all saying, oh my gosh, like, we've really got to improve our communication. This is so important that we include everybody, that we're not just talking from, the one-on-one conversations, that we really need to make sure it's filtered down to all people, that how essential this is, blah, blah, blah. So we did this exercise. 4 hours later, we did another one, and we have the same results. They haven't learned anything. the 4 hours, like, I'm not saying they haven't learned anything, but they haven't made the change yet, right? So we go back to, I said, well, it's really interesting to me. I said, the people in the back of the line, did you communicate with them? No. Did you ask their opinion? No. So we did another exercise where we left people out. What did you say about that? And they're like, oh, but that shows how important to them. And I'm not saying they failed. They didn't fail. It was the moment of that epiphany that says, oh my gosh, we said the words, we haven't learned the lesson. So what is it now? What do we need to do now from this point onward to make sure that we learn the lesson? Because that's the real key, right? What do we do when we leave here to make sure that we're really going to carry this forward? So those kind of things are just so much fun for me. I love it. I love it when they have epiphanies. I love it when they come to this place of we're not just going to do this. We're not going to talk about it. We're actually going to make sure it happens. And here are the things we're going to put in place to make sure it happens. those things are exciting. They're fun. They're life-changing. So when I
Yeah.
walk out, it's not like I just talked to somebody. When I walk out from a retreat, from a conference, then you know that people have been changed as a result of that.
And that is something that is just a magical ability that you have honed over decades in various different areas of your coaching career. And I think that, a lot of people get information when they go to these retreats, or they, get data, but to get a real change where everybody can be working together with the same shared knowledge and ideas, and that, like a Ferrari engine suddenly, versus a bunch of disparate people that are just doing whatever comes to them, and also maybe running on fueled by emotions. I know that you learned to coach in like 12 different ways. You were coached as an Olympian and you went twice. You also coached a lot of people as a basketball coach. You had one story that I saw you do on stage about one gal that you coached. Could you share that with me? I love that, and I don't know if everybody's heard that yet. So, and what did you learn? What did you learn from that kind of coaching?
Oh man, that's such a great story. So I'll just tell the story and then we can talk about the story. So imagine that you're sitting in the stands, you're watching your favorite basketball team, the Skylights, play the first ever national championship game. You have bitten your fingernails down to the quick. You have screamed until your voice is raw. And now, with the lead having changed 17 times, you finally breathe a sigh of relief because your team is ahead by 6 points. And then your coach takes out your favorite player, 5'11" Sharna. Now, Sharna happens to be the best ball handler on the team, the best passer on the team, and also the worst free throw shooter on the team. So, folks, if you don't know what a great free throw shooter is, a phenomenal, one of the best of the best of the best, shoots 90%. Right below that is 80%. So if you're shooting 80%, you're still one of the best in the nation. If you're shooting in the 70s, you're really great. If you're shooting below 60%, you should not be in the game at the end of the game. Sharna was shooting 50% from the free throw line, right? So probably you know this if you've ever played a sport. If you've ever played basketball, you might have been on the court, you're shooting the ball, and as you shoot, your coach on the sideline screams, "No, no, no!" And the ball goes in, you're like, "Yes!" The coach is like, "Yes!" That's called a no, no, yes shooter. Well, that's exactly what Sharna was. She was a no, no, yes shooter. Every time she went to shoot the ball, even if it wasn't a free throw, people were like, "No!" And sometimes it went in, and everybody would be like, "Yes." So I take Sharna out of the game, and she looks at me and she goes, "Coach, coach, 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 I'll make those free throws." I'm like, "Sharna, sit down, sit down." So as soon as I sit her down, I put my next point guard into the game, and that point guard dribbles the ball to the floor, dribbles it off her foot, and gives the ball to our opponents, the Wolves. The Wolves go down and score a 2-point shot off a jump shot. Now we're ahead by 4 points. We can't get the ball back in bounds. I'm like, timeout, timeout, timeout. The team comes over, and I look at the team, and I say to them, "There's only one team in this world who can beat you, and that's you. And you're not going to let this happen. We're going to run one to get the ball in bounds. We're going to run victory down there, and we're going to win this game. Everybody say win, win." Sharna comes over. She goes, "Coach, coach, coach, I'll make those free throws." "Sharna, sit your butt down. Sit down." I look back over. We get the ball in bounds. We dribble across the half-court line, and then we pass the ball directly into the hands of a Wolves player who goes down and make a layup. Now we're up by 2 points. I'm like, time out, time out. I look down the bench, and I look at Sharna, and I'm like, "Sharna, let's go." All three of my assistant coaches stand up at the same time. They're like, "Coach, coach, coach, you're not going to put Sharna in, are you?" I'm like, "Yes, come on, Sharna." "Coach, you know the last time that Sharna made a free throw?" I look down, I'm like, "Sharna, get in." They're like, "Coach, it was snowing in Jamaica." So as Sharna goes in, I can see the other coach, and he's like, "Foul 22, foul 22. Now, folks, I'm a really brilliant coach. So I tell my players, whatever you do not pass the ball to Sharna. Who did we pass the ball to? Sharna. Who did they foul? Sharna. So now, folks, there's less than 20 seconds to go in the game. We're up by 2 points, and our worst free throw shooter is headed to the free throw line. And as she passes me, she looks at me and she says, "Coach, pie and cake. Easy as pie, piece of cake." And I looked at her, I'm like, "Oh, you're kidding." Oh my God.
Thanks,
I put
Sharna.
my head into my hands, And I knew that I'd made a really bad decision. So I started doing what we always do when we want something really badly enough. I started bargaining with God. I'll give you my house. I'll give you my car. I'll give you my championship trophy. And I turn around and I look, and Charlotte's at the free throw line, and she's dribbling the ball. She goes, Coach, 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 pie and cake. I'm like, Charlotte, focus, focus, child, focus. And she goes and shoots the ball, and she makes it. Now we're up by 3. Now we all have to do, we got to make sure they don't hit a three-pointer. We win a national championship, but she has one more shot. So she's at the free throw line looking at me again. Coach, 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 I told you I was going to make it. I'm like, Charlotte, concentrate, game is not over. She makes her second free throw. Sure enough, the Wolves go down, hit a three-point shot, and we win by 1 point. Only national championship this university's ever won. I'm over high-fiving people. I get to Charlotte, I'm like, Charlotte, you did it. And she looks at me and she says, Coach, you did not believe in me. I'm like, nope, 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 nope. Well, Coach, do you know why I knew I was going to make the free throw? I'm like, no. Coach, you know how I only make half of all the free throws I shoot? Yes. Well, Coach, I missed all my free throws in warm-up, so I knew I was going to make the next half that I shot.
She believed in it, and it made it so because she believed it. But that's I mean, what crazy logic, but it made sense and it worked. Oh, that's a wonderful
and that's
story.
The point, right? The point of the whole story is
she believed it.
Yeah, is that you really, whatever you believe is what is going to come true, right? So if you're, so we go back to Fred, right? So if you believe that you're an imposter, you're going to be one. But if you can convince yourself somehow, and the logic doesn't even have to be real. I mean, you know,
it wasn't for Charlotte, clearly.
But it worked for her mind.
Yeah, worked for her mind. That's all that matters. Is our own individual minds. Yeah.
And so she made. And
so Fred had the same issue, and you had to find your way in with him to hold the space to believe in him in a way he couldn't necessarily believe in himself, and give him the tools to be able to let go of some of those things, change some of those things, change some of those thoughts, so that would, and that I imagine cascaded down into, like you said, into his professional life, and his success in sales must have gone up dramatically.
Absolutely.
And also in his spillover value into the rest of his personal life. How fabulous.
Well, I mean, if you have children,
Fred.
You know, if you have children, and what you don't understand is that whatever struggles that you have, and you think they may be private, whatever struggles you have, those are the same struggles your children are going to have. And if you don't want your children to live the same, like, negative belief system that you've had, that same uncertainty, those same, you know, self-talk that you've had, and you're like, but it's just my self-talk. You don't think it doesn't bleed over into your everyday conversations with your children, then you're wrong. Because whatever it is, like, if you want to give the biggest gift that you can to your children, to your team, to the people around you, you first give it to yourself. And then once that you own it, then everybody around you will also benefit.
They can own it. Well, and because the people that work for us, they look to us as the leader. And that, you know, I always say I want to be the leader that my team deserves, because I have a great team and I love them. And as you know, but again, they certainly aren't children. However, they're going to pick up on all those things that you have unresolved as well. And whatever is holding you back in those areas is going to hold back the whole team. I remember I got to meet Mary Kay Ash of Mary Kay Cosmetics, who invented a whole new way of people getting to work, for women particularly getting to work from home and, you know, make a living on their own terms. Amazing woman, always dressed all in pink, a southern accent, adorable, and smart as they whip. And her books are very good if you ever can catch them. But one of the things she said, I finally got to meet her, and I spoke 17 times for Mary Kay, and as you know, for a zillion 3,000 other companies. And we had this conversation, and she said something that is probably in her books as well, which is never forget, honey, the speed of the leader will be the speed of the pack. The speed of the leader will be the speed of the pack. And I went, Well, so there, your team is never going to surpass your level of thinking. And that means that you have to take absolute control over your thinking and make a commitment to look at those things, which again, if only 15% of the population are taking the time to look at the way that they are behaving, thinking, and acting, then, you've got a lot of people. That's why everybody hates their managers and hates the business owners and stuff, is because they have so much unresolved stuff. And they may be addicted, like you said, addicted to anger, or not even realize they have anger. I think, men are allowed, I think men, again, this is a bit of a generalization, but if men are only allowed to be happy and angry, women aren't allowed to even be angry. So, you didn't even know you were angry when you're sitting in that office. And then what an impact unraveling and unpacking that had on your health and on probably on other areas of your life as well. So it all ties back. I am so incredibly honored to have you as a part of the Inspiring Victory tribe at the Inspiring Victory Show. Please do us a favor. We really need your help. Please like, subscribe, share, write a comment. It makes a huge difference with how many people we can reach here at the Inspiring Victory Show, and it makes a big difference to me personally. I want to make sure that we're providing content to as many people as we possibly can so they can grow and succeed. So we'd love to have you continue your membership here at the Inspiring Victory Show. It's free. Helping us out costs nothing, but it makes a huge difference in how many people we can help. So double your business, double your impact, and change the world. And thank you so much for being a part of this extraordinary community. Thank you. What is something that we can do to get started on improving our ability to think, and those thoughts and the emotions that go with them, and then the actions that go with those emotions and those thoughts? What's one thing that we can do today?
I think that one of my greatest tools, that I talk to people about is meditation. And the reason for that is, as soon as you start trying to meditate, you recognize how much your mind is going, right? You realize that it doesn't ever stop. It's just like talking to you all the time. You're like, whoa. And you're trying to, for example, you're trying to breathe, so you're going to focus on the breath. It's like in and out. Oh, I feel the breath. Oh my gosh, I have 50,000 things to do today. I don't want to do them. And they're so hard. Oh yeah, I'm supposed to focus on breathing. And so I think that the first thing is to recognize the amount of thoughts that you have, and you recognize how fast they come in and how fast they took over you. And it's just that realization that blows people away. Like, it's really hard to meditate. And I'm like, well, it's hard to meditate because we've never tried to bring ourselves back to a thought or to let a thought go. We've just let the thoughts run us. And so if people will take the time to meditate, they'll really figure out really quickly how challenging it is. And then you learn that you don't have to stay with a thought, which is what people don't know. We let that thought become a story, let the story become us, and that's the way we behave. But you have an equal opportunity to not think that thought.
You have a choice in that you're not realizing. And I think a lot of people quit meditation, from what I understand, having meditated since I was in my 20s. They quit because they think that they're supposed to not have thoughts. And when it is difficult to not have thoughts, then they're frustrated, like it's some sort of goal to have no thoughts. When in fact, the goal is to simply sit with whatever thoughts do come in and build that awareness. I never connected the thought attaching to story, the story attaching to emotion, and how meditation allows you to clear the space to look at those thoughts, not necessarily to not have them. Because I think if your goal is to not have them, you are very frustrated, very quickly.
Well, you're frustrated because you can't do it. That's
not possible.
Impossibility.
That's not how the brain works.
You can choose to let it go. You can choose to not stay.
That's interesting.
Right? Because,
and move
like,
through that cycle a lot quicker. I remember
yeah,
somebody telling me that the Dalai Lama, people think that he's this Zen guy that doesn't feel anything at all, when it's absolutely not true. He just feels things incredibly deeply, processes them super fast, and then comes back out of them. And what might take us a month to process, he's processing in minutes, because he spends 8 hours a day meditating for decades and
right.
decades on,
Yeah.
and anyone can do that if they choose to take the time to do that on a regular basis. Well, and meditation can just be as simple as focusing on your breathing, which sounds really boring. But so I find sometimes people, guided meditation where, imagine you're in a field or something, where like baby steps, you may not be able to just have emptiness in your brain, but I find guided meditation like Shakti Gawain, ShakTeGawain, started that whole creative visualization movement decades ago, passed away just a few years ago. But she has those meditation
Mhm.
programs where they're a little more guided. And I find that allows my brain to slow down a little bit better than
Yeah.
just breathe,
Well,
which
because I'm a,
maybe a bit more too advanced. Now I can do that, but in the beginning, I found I had to find either walking allowed me to meditate, or I had to do something physical, or I had to do something that was
yeah.
guided, or so there's a lot of kinds of meditation. It's not just breathe through your third eye and breathe some more. I mean,
Well, there's
which
a,
is fine, but there's
yeah,
other, but so find something that works for you, whether that's something physical or something that clears your mind. But
agreed. And
yeah,
if you're an athlete,
yeah,
I would say breathe with Sandy. And the reason I say that is that Sandy has a lot of different like breath works, so it's not always the
okay.
same. So you can go in and
Nice.
the changes like, is it two breaths in, a breath out? Is it, or is it like breath of fire? Or is it, I mean, all this stuff. And so you have to focus on it a lot more intently,
Right.
right? And then
Yes.
if he switches the pace or switches the breath, then you're lost. If you're lost in your thoughts, you're gone. Like you have to really come back into it. And so for me,
Mhm.
for an athlete, it's a challenge, right? You have to really be present. And so everything is left. So all that other stuff is let go for a while. And that's really powerful too, that if you can just let go of your stories for a while, right? You're not keeping them in your subconscious computer programming. You're not keeping them in there. And now you have the opportunity to sift and to sort and to determine where you want to go. And it's a challenge because most of us let our thoughts think us, we let our emotions run us. We have no idea that we can do it differently. And you can. So a few weeks ago, I was cutting up some boards because I was going to take them in to do a team. I was doing a team retreat with a team, and I needed these little pieces of board. And so I went down to the barn to do it, and I started with a circular saw, and it wasn't a very clean cut. So I said, well, I'll just go to this new table saw my dad just gave me, which I haven't really set up and I haven't worked, I haven't read anything about it, but I'm going to do it. And I go, but this
Mhm.
is really dangerous. Like, I don't know if I should do this. I have a long 2x4. I don't know if I should do this or not. But I convinced myself I could do it. I go, you got to be really careful because that board can kick back, I'm like, well, I'll be careful. I'll be careful. Well, I put it through, and of course, the board kicks back and it hits me like bam, right here. Now, had that been me 5 years ago, or yeah, five, I'd have been mad. I would have told myself how dumb I was. I would have punished myself forever with it. But here was my first thought, Sarah, and this is about how you train. My first thought was, well, that's a miracle. My very first thought, that's a miracle, right?
Mhm.
Because it didn't hit me in the face, it didn't knock my teeth out, it didn't break my nose, it didn't hit me in glasses. I was like, it hit me in probably the most safe place it could have hit me. It cut my skin a little bit, got a bruise, but it didn't do anything else. And I just was like, my first thought was, that's a miracle. That's training your mind. That's how you can be if you train your mind instead of getting mad, gonna fight the machine. I have to prove the machine that I'm right, so I'm gonna stay here all night long and get it right. No, what I did? I turned it off. I went over to my neighbors and said, hey, would you mind cutting this for me? I'd really appreciate it. He did it in 10 minutes. It was done. I was not injured. He was not injured. Got it done. Everything was good and forgave myself. That's the mental,
Yeah,
that's what you can do. That's your expectations. That's how your life will change.
that's unbelievable. That is so powerful, so powerful. And it's funny how some of the most powerful things on earth are the simplest and the hardest. And I think, you know, again, you've really trained your mind. As an athlete, you had to, and also as a coach and as a consultant, you are constantly having to be so 100% present with people. And you found tools that really, really work. And some of them are deceptively simple and yet unbelievably powerful. What is one piece of advice you would give to an up and coming business person who wanted to be successful? What's one great piece of advice you would give to them as we wrap up
Well, I
here?
would say invest in yourself. Don't
Mm,
wait.
mm.
Like invest in yourself. And that could be, of course, coaching, but it could be reading books, like buying books, investing in seminars, listening to podcasts, like just investing in you. Like take the time to invest in you. Obviously, if you want to be coached, always here for you. Love to coach you.
She's really good.
And yeah, but really, it's just about like if you don't have that kind of, you're not ready for that. You don't have whatever it is that you need, the time, or buy a book, do journaling, like invest in your thoughts, invest in growing yourself. Listen to. I had a guy that I was coaching, and we were talking, and so we had several conversations. He's a COO, and he was like, I'm just angry. I don't feel good. I find myself like short fuse, and I said, well, what do you listen to? What do you do? Give me your routine in the morning. He goes, well, the first thing I do is I turn on this political show. I start listening to these political pundits. I go, stop. That's over. You're not going to do that anymore. But I like it. And I said, what do you feel like afterward? I feel angry. Let's stop that. I said, I want to invite you to invest in listening to something positive. Like find somebody who's positive, go in, find somebody who's positive, and I want you to invest in listening to those people. And so the next time I talk to him, he says, oh my gosh, you're not going to believe this. I said, what? He goes, I'm so happy. He said, I'm so happy. I go, why are you happy? What's changed? He goes, I started listening to the podcast. So look, he just invested in that change. Now, maybe he wouldn't have done it if I wouldn't have, mentioned it to him, but he invested in himself, and that's the outcomes. Like when you invest in you, guaranteed, you're going to have different outcomes. If you don't invest in you, you're going to experience the same things over and over again. You're going to be mad about them, and that's called insanity. So why do it? Why not be a sane person and start investing in yourself today?
Brilliant as usual. And if you have low funds for hiring a fabulous consultant, I think you should find them. But Sherry is obviously one of our absolute favorites here on the show. However, she also has several really, really good books that you could read. Her last one is absolutely spectacular, and something you might be able to download onto your Kindle or buy in a hard
Yeah, that's
form.
Winning Leadership, 7 Secrets to Being a Truly Powerful Leader. I have 2 new coming out soon.
I
Soon,
know.
soon, soon.
You're so
And I will
excited.
tell you,
Yeah.
Sarah has been a great help in all of those. I'm like, she really helped me hone in how I should write it, the way to write it, how it can best reach the audience that it's intended for. So I'm excited about the next 2 books coming out. One is Winning Business Secrets. The other one is Winning Wisdom, 197 quotes to change your life forever, or something like that. I can't remember the exact quote, but they're great books. They're going to be great
That's
books.
good, but they're both great. Yeah, they're
They're
great.
going
Yeah,
to
no,
be great. Look, they're going to be great.
no
They're
one
going to
has
change your
better.
life. Just invest in them, read them. You're going to
They
love them.
will invest. If you want to invest, there you go. Invest in them and then get on her mailing list so that you can hear about the next 2 when they come out. Both sound really, really great. I can't wait to see the new books. Well, I'm always so honored to get to spend time with you. I learn something every single time we have a conversation, and I'm so proud of the work that you're doing in the world, and just who you are and what you do is spectacular. Always a privilege to spend time with the great Sherry Winn. I think we all want to be you when we grow up. So lovely to have you here on the show. And for you watching, thank you for investing in yourself. We're so happy for you. We're so proud of you. It's going to make a difference. Keep watching the show, investing in yourself. It is free. Please sign up on YouTube to make sure you're getting them right away so you don't miss a Sherry Winn or somebody else who's great. We're here to help you here at the Inspiring Victory Show. We want you to double your business, double your impact, and change the world. Thank you so much, Sherry Winn, for being on the show. You are delightful and brilliant.
Thank you, Sarah, for having me. If you want to find me, you can find me at thewinningleadershipcompany.com, www.thewinningleadershipcompany.com. Please, like I'm always here to support you and to move you forward. That's my mission in life. I want to help people. I really want to help leaders. And here's why. Because leaders can multiply their effect by 7 times. And that's what my goal is to help you, help your team members who help and go into their families, help their communities. You can make a huge difference as a leader.
Absolutely. And I think everybody's a leader in some way, and everybody should step up to whatever that next level of leadership is. If that is you, you now know how to reach Sherry Winn, and all her information will also be in the section below that you're looking at right now. And we will look forward to seeing you on the next Inspiring Victory show right here. Thanks so much, Sherry, and I really appreciate it. Nice to see you again.
Let's take a moment to thank our sponsor, Marites Bott of Bott and Associates.
I'm so honored to get to be with our wonderful sponsor for the Inspiring Victory show. And I want to make sure you know a little bit more about her and about what they do, because I think it'd be really helpful for all of us as business people and just in our personal lives. Marites does a lot of speaking, as many of you probably know, but I love one of the speeches that she's famous for, which is A Generous Legacy, the power of future-proofing your business and your personal life. And that's really what you are all about. So I want to talk a little bit about that with you. And can you give us an example of somebody who's come to you and how you were able to help them that might be able to help all of us as we navigate our financial planning as well as our estate planning for business and for personal?
Yeah, I'd love to. Well, thank you for having me, Sarah. I appreciate it. We do a lot of estate planning, obviously, as well as the financial planning for our clients. And a story that I think is a great way to showcase what we do is this wonderful couple that we met back in, I want to say 2015. They came in for a consultation. So they are certainly a wonderful couple, blended family. So second marriage for both of them. He has children and she does not. Basically, they were saying to me, Marites, I really want my estate plan to be secure. I want it to be ironclad so it goes to the right people. Particularly the wife was concerned that this money goes to her charities, which she was very, very active in and volunteers quite a bit. She puts her hard-earned money with them. And she also wants to make sure her husband is taken care of as well. So she wanted to do both objectives at the same time. We were like, of course we can help you with that. We want to make sure that we write everything down and just like you said, make it ironclad so that there's no contest. There's nobody trying to get to the money inappropriately. Right. So we created a wonderful estate plan for them. So that was 2015. Now, sadly, she unexpectedly passed a few years later. And her surviving spouse came to us and he really needed help. He was so, of course, distraught and super, super sad. But he was also very concerned about the financial pieces. He wasn't that familiar with financial instruments. There was 13, 14, 15 accounts that she had. And of course, he was like, I'm confused. What do I do with all of this? So we said, okay, we're going to take care of you. We got this. And we were able to really take a hold of all those instruments and all those accounts. And on our financial side of our business, we were able to consolidate them, invest it in very prudent investments and make sure it's easy for him to manage. So we were able to do that within 3 to 6 months. His late wife's wishes of him being able to live on that money and then eventually at his death give it to her charities is exactly what's going to happen. So wonderful to be able to plan it properly, give her peace of mind. A few years later, we're honoring 100% of her wishes. This money is not going to go to anybody inappropriately. And her beneficiaries, her charities, are going to be so happy to be able to get this money upon his death because he is still able to live on that income. So I love those stories because to me, we work so hard. We sacrifice daily, right? We work so hard and we want to be able to take our money and be able to give it to people that we love and charities that we believe in.
Well, thank you very much for sharing that with us. I always enjoy spending time with you. And yeah, you're one of the people I always find so much value in talking to. You're just walking integrity and you're a good soul. And you help people. You help people. So thank you for
appreciate
being on the show again and for sharing with us and for always doing such a great job for everybody. And now that you're able to do even more and be more of a one-stop shop to help people with all these different issues, I think your company and you are even more valuable. Thank you so much. Always
Thank
lovely to see you.
you.
Marites Bott and
Appreciate it.
Associates. If it's something that you need, be sure and contact Marites right away. Thank you.